Welcome to the Body Aware Living podcast. I'm Margo Rose, author of Body Aware Grieving, a fitness trainer's guide to caring for your health during sad times. And we are here today with kind and wise people from around the world, finding practical ways to get through challenging times and to celebrate our accomplishments. And it's important to remember that none of the ideas or suggestions made by myself or my guests are meant to replace any medical, legal, or health services. So, welcome. Today's guest, it's this enormous honor to welcome Nancy Rubin. Nancy Rubin was my favorite teacher of high school over 40 years ago, and she was the favorite teacher of many thousands of people. She taught a class so innovative called Social Living that we're going to hear about, that there's also been a documentary about her project and what it has meant for so many of us. And I'm going to let her introduce herself a little bit as well.
Hi, it's so good to see you again after all these decades, my goodness.
How do you look? You're also really, we're also going to talk about skillful aging, because when I look at Nancy, I can't imagine that she doesn't hardly look any different than 40 years ago. But so the documentary, I Am Nancy Rubin, really focuses on this course that you did with us when we were like 15 years old, and you had a total of like 15,000 students.
More or less, yes.
Come through, and we also did this like time capsule project where you had us write letters to our future selves.
Yes.
And I'm just really curious, when I was in it, I was wondering as well, like, what social living was so different from any other course taught ordinarily. What was it, and how did it come about? What was social living mean?
Well, I have to correct something that a lot of people assume that I started social living, and it had been started several years before I taught it, which was 1977. And the state of California at the time said that schools had to teach about, I think it was called VD back then, and drugs and alcohol.
So sexually transmitted diseases.
Yes,
would be, okay.
Correct. And Berkeley had the forethought that we should include some other very important topics, and that would change over the years. And the course was only 9 weeks, so it was intense to try to get everything from birth to death in that time period. And the beauty and challenge of the class was that it was required. So you've got this beautiful cross-section of Berkeley, and everybody's in there talking about race and death and abuse and life and joy and everything in between. And at 15 years old, once in a while there'd be a couple of people who were older, but it was required. And
what did they want us to get out of that? Because we really were talking about just getting through life and relationships. It wasn't just sex education, it was all these other things. Like, what were they hoping for, and what were you hoping for as the instructor and sort of for so many decades the sort of face person of this project, Social Living? What were you wanting for us?
I guess if I had to say maybe one thing, it would be feeling that the class was a safe place and that you weren't alone. So this was before the internet, and to find out that you're not the only person who has an alcoholic parent, or has felt incredibly sad, or is unsure about being sexually active. And it was a comfortable, safe place to do that.
You really did make it a comfortable, safe place. And you had journaling as part of the class, and you also had this time capsule project. So was the time capsule project was us writing letters to our future selves.
Yeah.
And what did you see people get out of that? What did you see? What was in the moment, what do you think was the big value in having us do that as 15-year-olds?
I think just that it would be fun. I didn't take it to any, I think, level of how deep it would be to reflect back on it. And I'm really glad that a lot of people have seen it that way and could look back and either feel like that their morals had stayed the same and their core values, or how much they had grown. And I just loved hearing from students. They would say, this was when email came into practice, and I would put the email address on the back of the envelope. And one woman said, I wrote in my letter that I hoped that I would get into being a professional ballet dancer, and I'm writing you from London. I'm in the corps of the Royal Ballet. And it was just fun to hear that.
One of the things I think I didn't realize I got out of it at the time, but we wrote letters at age 15 to our future selves, and then part of this documentary that we'll have links for, it's on HBO Max and Discovery Plus. I am Nancy Rubin. She spent the next 35 years mailing these letters to 15,000 students up to 40 years later. I mean, we wrote letters to ourselves, dear Margo at age 35, and then she would keep track of, how to get these letters to us, which was just fantastic. But the idea at age 15 of trying to picture, well, what would I be like at different ages, and what would I say to myself at different ages, I think was a really potent tool to help us get through potential turbulent and even depressed times. I think a problem when you're young like that, and I think depression and potential, teen suicide is a huge problem. And I think the idea is you picture, my current problems are hard for me. I don't know how to solve them. My current problems feel overwhelming. And the idea of picturing yourself as an adult seems so far off.
Yeah.
But do you think that the idea of getting people to picture themselves at different ages might have helped do a little glimmer of something for kids that were struggling, picturing that life could be different at these different times?
I think that's a great idea. And I think I like that you've thought of that. I didn't think of it back then, but it makes a lot of sense. I just want to correct one thing.
Sure.
And add that originally this was started by the Magnolia Network, so it's also on the Magnolia Network.
Okay.
And it's called Hi, I'm Nancy Rubin.
Hi, I'm Nancy Rubin. Yeah. Okay.
Which is real difficult going up to people now and say, hi, I'm...
When you go up and say, hi, I'm Nancy Rubin. Well, and we were talking briefly before the cameras were rolling, and I was asking you, what has being part of a documentary now that's been very popular? I think you're up for some awards. I think the documentary is up for some awards coming up.
Rocky, which is a Canadian award. I think it's similar to the Emmy.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive. And you were saying something so sweet, because I was saying, well, what do you get out or hope to get out of this documentary being out there? And you were mentioning something about current teachers. Can you tell me what you were thinking would be a hope that you have when people see this?
Yeah, so when we had a premiere at a local theater, there were quite a few teachers, some from Berkeley High there, and they said how moved they were because realizing what an impact they were having on their students. And then a husband of a friend of mine, he was planning to retire from UC Berkeley Law School. And he said after seeing the documentary that it made him want to stay and teach. Again, realizing what kind of an impact he could had and had been having on his students. So teachers now have it so hard. I mean, I think most people would agree teachers always have a difficult time, underpaid, and especially in this economy, that just how important teaching is. And it makes me sad that a lot of people don't want to go into teaching. So maybe if more people saw the film, they could see what a gratifying career it is and get into it.
Yeah, so that having, decades of students later say, thank you so much, this meant so much, this changed how I feel. Like, I'm going to get all verklempt over here, because when I found you just, 5 years ago or so on, I was looking you up, just where are they now? I was looking you up, and then there you were popping up on your Facebook page has just you looking every bit as fresh and gorgeous as ever. And then you're active, you're running around in the community, you're a stunning photographer. Your photography is absolutely stellar, and to see you and then to see thousands of comments from other Berkeley High students feeling like I did, that they'd found you and there you were, and we could still learn from you and be inspired. It was just, and say thank you, and just all kinds of good stuff.
Thank you.
And you've taken this photography that you're amazing at to another level with this current project that you've been working on. It's can you help me with the name of it and the purpose of it, about seniors? And
It's called Forever Fit.
Forever Fit.
Exercising for Life.
Okay.
And I didn't want to take like these triathletes who are 103, but just kind of a typical everyday person who's been exercising, and kind of a twofold purpose. One, for those seniors who are not exercising, that maybe they look and see, well, here's someone who has a lot of back pain, but they're still exercising. Here's someone who has a disability and they're exercising. And then also for younger people to look at old folks and go, they're not all sitting in a rocking chair and watching TV.
So you've been taking photos of seniors, including, average level of athleticism seniors, and you have 2 art exhibits happening right now. Is that correct?
It's the same exhibit,
Okay.
but we translated into Spanish because
Can you imagine?
75% of the patients
So
in
exciting.
Richmond are Spanish speaking.
Okay. So you're going to have, the Berkeley Senior Center is one place that you currently have your photography exhibited, and also in Richmond.
So it's the North Berkeley Senior Center
Okay.
and the Lifelong Health Center in Richmond.
Going back to this idea that I am really passionate about with how to get through hard times with the least amount of depression possible, just solving problems, resiliency, and how to reduce suicide risks. I've had my little sister die by suicide. I had a romantic partner die by suicide. I've been at risk of being that despondent a couple times, and so that's part of why I'm really passionate to support what you're doing. And this idea of showing healthy, active seniors, I think, is part of this bookend that can take people who are going through hard times, potentially at pivotal ages, 13, 19, middle age, when people start getting upset with what's currently happening. If aging also looks bad, I think that more people are going to want to give up. And so I think when we can look at styles of aging that look like fun, they look vibrant, they look like this, they look like I'm willing to do that, let me hang on, let me, tussle around with whatever my current struggle is. So, I mean, is it part of your intention to kind of show that role modeling for people of all ages so we can just look forward to something?
Well, absolutely. And I think for me, it started during the pandemic, that I started taking a Y class on Zoom several times a week, and then also started walking. And during this time of being alone, it felt so good to be outside. And the forest bathing, I'm a big believer in that, so I tried to get to the parks when they were open. And I would see a lot of other people too, especially older people, out often walking with their dogs. And then I think it's just easy for me to do that. Having my camera with me is kind of having my best friend. I would play some games with my photography teacher and my sister to motivate us to get out each day. So I think sometimes if someone has a partner to walk with, or just even stay in touch with, to have these little games, it makes it a lot of fun. So one of the things we did, we'd start with the alphabet and either trying to find something in the shape of an A, or something that started with the letter A.
When you were on your walks,
Yeah.
you made it more interesting? Okay,
And,
all right.
The idea would be to get something that was very interesting, not just any old thing. And then we started something with Beatles songs. So like if you were with the letter H, you could do something from Here Comes the Sun, and just was a way to get out the door.
So how to move your body and how to make these little mental games. So you're working on staying physically more fit and active, but also mentally, mentally thinking of all these fun things is just a way to stay more vibrant overall.
Yes.
At every, okay, that's
and
perfect.
Get out the door.
Yeah, and get out the door.
It's like, what am I going to find today? And of course, seeing the different seasons going out, you start to notice different things. Mm-hmm. And it all started with a friend actually who gave me my first kind of real camera. Mm-hmm. I had sent her a photo of a mailbox, and then she sent me a photo of a mailbox. And then all of a sudden, you're noticing how creative some mailboxes are. So just being mindful out there and just every day noticing something new.
Every day noticing something new is just a wonderful little, we're going to have little sound bites, and that's just a really sweet, simple piece of advice for people of every age. Just notice something new. Just notice something new every day is just such a accessible way to make life interesting and sort of break whatever people's cycles are at the time of whatever they're going through, and some of those things might be challenging. And so, okay, you have this bookend. So you have decades of time with teens and all different kinds of teens from every kind of walk of life and every kind of level of ease or challenge in their life. And now you are seeing the world of seniors and what people who are older do and go through. So what would you think that younger people could say to older people or offer older people, and what do you think older people can get and offer to younger people? How would we connect these wisdoms between the teens and the seniors?
I actually wish I had more of that. I never wanted to have kids, so I don't have grandkids. Mm-hmm. But I think for people who have grandkids, it's just a really valuable tool. Mm-hmm. And I know I belong to something called Ashby Village. We could talk about that. Mm-hmm. But I know they're trying to get more intergenerational activities. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things teaching, I was kept young because my students were always 15 and I was getting older, but I was very aware of what was going on. And now I really feel quite a distance from that. And I mean, of course, older people are so full of wisdom that young people would learn a lot. And we can say you can get through those tough times. That,
okay. So if seniors sort of as a group were talking to younger people, one of the statements they could be making is, you'll get through this, or you can get through this.
Absolutely.
Oh. I'm getting all verklempt over here again. Well, that's the thing. It's just a matter of just learning and caring. I think that was the main thing. I don't remember from your class, and I think it also comes up in the documentary about you, that people just said, I don't remember exactly what we did. I just knew she cared. I just knew I was in the room with someone who really cared, and I knew I felt relaxed in that room. Just knowing somebody cares somewhere and knowing what it feels like to feel relaxed anywhere, I think was the main thing that a lot of people got out of being around you and being in this environment that you helped create for so long. So I appreciate it so much, and I know other people do. Really curious to see what you do now and next, and what people can do while Nancy's getting her website put together. People can go, I can help keep people up to date with what Nancy's doing. So if you wanted to be connected to the bodyawareliving.com website, you can go and sign up for stay in contact by email, and I will let people know via my website and my social media anything that Nancy develops that we can follow up with what she's doing and watch and get excited, or find ways to help her with her next projects. So if you want to stay connected via email on bodyawareliving.com, I'll make sure I forward all that information to you. And
thank you.
To the dear people listening right now, do you have a wish for them?
I guess to find a passion in life, and it's not easy, but I mean, photography has changed my life in so many ways. my camera kind of being my best friend, during the pandemic, and just opened so many doors. And initially I took several classes and they were really terrible. And I think it's like hanging in there to find out, to find the teacher who you really connect with. So I took a lot of things before photography, but I've never always been envious. I think the book was called Centering. It was popular in the 60s, and how someone could get into a place and time just escaped. They were in the moment, and that happened with photography. But it took trying classes that sometimes I didn't even stick with them because I knew there wasn't a connection. But I have friends who are starting to play pickleball and starting to do watercolor, and the senior centers have so many options that would be, especially for seniors, a good place to start. The other thing I think has been really valuable in my life is doing volunteer work. And all the experts say that, giving is such a good way to feel about oneself. And again, I've met so many people through that. And it's how I got into teaching. So those are kind of two things I really feel are important.
Okay, so your one of your messages to feel energized and inspired and motivated is to look for what one's own passion is, and to just experiment with and even if the first version of it or the first activity, but which activities make you feel like you're in the zone? Which activities make you feel like I could do this forever, and time's sort of not important. I love what I'm doing so much, I'm immersed in it. And the idea of volunteering as well, to find the activities and topics that you care about enough that you want to get up and out of yourself and make these donations of your time or effort or skills in some kind of volunteer way. And that those are some of the enlivening things that she wishes for us and that she's doing. So Nancy, you've had all these different areas of developing so much wisdom, and you mentioned that you might be putting together a website now, and I'm curious, why now, and what are you going to have in your website? What do you think you're going to put there?
Well, it's almost finished, I hope, and it's going to have information about the documentary, about past exhibits so that they're still living, about current exhibits so that they will have a wider audience.
These are your art exhibits.
Correct.
Current and past art exhibits.
Correct.
We're going to be able to have a wider group of people see
Yes.
what you've been up to.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
excellent.
Some of them are just photographs, but the three of my exhibits have text with them. Mm-hmm. So my very first exhibit was called Faces of Fatherhood, and the fathers have quotes about what fatherhood means to them.
Faces of Fatherhood. Oh my God. Well, we need that. And we probably, it sounds like the timing would be right, that maybe we have it available to start sharing even by Father's Day even. And the timing might be right on track.
Yes,
Faces of Fatherhood is one of your projects.
Yes, yes. But what would happen is on my walks, I would start to notice fathers with their kids. And now it's very common, but when I first saw it, it was like, well, you'd see a mother and father in a child maybe, but rare kind of just the father. And then again, once you start noticing something, I saw it all around. And what was really fun is twice when I went up to fathers and said, oh, can I take a photo of you? And they ended up being former students.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I'm in the parking lot, and this one guy's got one child here and two in the cart, and I said, wow, you're out shopping with 3 kids, and then there were 2 more in the car, and he was working on his PhD, and we were talking for a few minutes, and he looked at me and he said, you were my teacher at Berkeley High. So yeah, that happened twice. That
one of the
fun.
advantages of looking the exact same as 40 years ago is everyone's recognizing you still. So so your access to documentary, your previous art exhibits that a wider range of people could see, this Faces of Fatherhood project that sounds like wonderful thing for
It
more
was really
people.
sweet.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
And the two most recent are on aging, reframing aging, and then Forever Fit, exercising for life.
Okay, Reframing Aging and Forever Fit. We're going to have information about there on your website. So it's not just people who are in the San Francisco Bay Area and happening to see it in person, that more people can
Exactly.
see examples of that. And did you say you'd written a book like back in
Yes.
'94?
Yes, correct.
What was
the
that
book,
about?
The book is called Ask Me If I Care, Voices from an American High School. And it's, I would say like 90% of it is in the voice of the students. So it's divided into chapters on sexuality, abuse, letters to mom and dad, drugs and alcohol, AIDS, and depression. And students wrote about this in their journal, and then with their permission, I would read them in class. And then at some point, I got the idea that I'd like more people to be exposed to these very moving, personal, sad, wonderful, all the emotions of adolescence, and got permission to use them anonymously. So you'll see female 15, male 16, and they're writing about these various topics. And so you get a wide range of opinion in each chapter on each topic.
So this book from 1994, Ask Me If I Care, is sort of like a compilation.
Yes.
It's almost like the journal about those decades of students journaling. So it's collections of snippets of people from throughout those years that you were teaching.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the feelings would still be very current.
Very valid.
As how you feel about your parents or your body or your boyfriend or girlfriend. I think those emotions are still very valid. So some of the language is a little bit dated, but I think the truth in each piece is still there.
Ask Me If I Care. And you said that it's not easy to. I was like, well, where can we get it? So you said it's not at the moment available. We might need to do a reprinting. We might need to do a new edition or something like that.
That's very sweet. There are some copies on Amazon, used copies, some from libraries. So it's out there, but there are not many copies.
Okay, so if we're going to have a lot of people, being interested in what you're doing, we might need to come up with a new version of it so we can print more copies and offer more copies to people. I don't want to give you more. I understand this believe me, I understand. This technology stuff can seem daunting. There's like the desire. I want information A to go to out into the world, but the sort of the nuts and bolts of some of the technology stuff can seem like a lot. Would you be open to people helping you with some of this who want to see, for example, this book republished so more people could have it? I mean, how can we help you? You've helped. That's the bottom line. I want to know, how can we help you? How can we help you in whatever it is you want to do right now and next with your passions and your wisdom?
Well, thank you. I think right now, probably if they come to the website, which hopefully will be up soon, I will have some selections from the book, and we'll see what comes out of that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's and now is the time that you're finally doing this like website, because people are asking you what I'm asking you, right? I mean, you're basically famous. You went from being legendary to all 15,000 of us students, and now you're actually legendary, and you've started to become famous. I mean, New York Times was writing about your documentary. I know there was
not yet.
Not
yet.
I
hope so.
Okay, so you were saying that. You were saying AARP might be something that you would, if AARP wants to pick up any of these stories.
I would like very much to be written up in AARP with all the projects on aging, or the New York Times.
Okay, all right.
But no, not there yet.
Hello, AARP. Look at how sweet this would look. Look at how sweet it would look to have Nancy's face on the cover of your magazine. Hello, AARP. We're talking to you if you want some fantastic material. If people think that Nancy Rubin would be an awesome, awesome person to have in an AARP, on the cover of AARP, we can write them in and say, go find us more information about Nancy Rubin, and please get it. Let us find a way to get copies of this book and this
I love your
content.
enthusiasm. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. All right. Well, I hope you have every bit of support you need. That don't try. It's hard for us people who didn't grow up with the technology to not let the how get in the way of like the why and the what. The why is that you have all this great information that people want and need, and the what are we going to offer? You already have so many different things to offer. The how are we going to get the technology part together so that more people have access is something more people are good at that than good at the things that you've been doing all these years. So we can get help with the stuff we're not. That's what you would tell anybody else, that whatever we're not good at, there's someone else that's good at it, and we can inspire someone to help bring our dream forward in a lot of different ways. So that's some of the ways that we can do that
That's a good
together.
reminder.
Yeah, we don't have to have our dreams alone. People can hear part of somebody else's dream and help make it true and help bring it alive, and that's what a lot of people would want to do here together with you as well. Would love to welcome to have any future discussions that you'd ever want to. I want to keep everybody up to date if they're interested in what's happening now and next, and I want to thank you so much for not only this time but the time back when I was 15 and all the time in between. That's been really inspiring. So thank you so much. Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thanks
for
this
explaining more.
opportunity.
Absolutely. So we will be keeping up. I will be keeping up with Nancy Rubin, and I will be letting anybody who wants to stay in contact with Body Aware Living. I will be posting every update that you want me to on all of my social media. And so if you want more Nancy, you can follow things related to Body Aware Living, and we'll make sure it all happens. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
You.